you assume the story's over now. I must conclude I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all, standing tall, fear outweighed the
Hello, everyone. How is everybody? Kendall, come back. She was backstage and then she disappeared. Hope everybody's having a good week. Not what I want to do with that. That's not what I want to do with that. Well, darn it. Yeah, there we go. Oh, as you're coming in, make sure to leave a thumbs up if you would. Make sure to like and subscribe. It's a free way to support the channel. Ellen, you're. I know you've been having a hard time with that lately. Maybe because I had it done since early today. Maybe it gave it time to get it in the system. Waiting for a few to get here. JoJo's supposed to be joining us. Ah, there she is. Hi. Uh-oh. I can't hear you. There you are. I can hear you. I hear something. Sort of. Maybe not. I lied. Mic settings. I hear something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are.
I don't know if it's going to stay connected. It keeps going in and out.
Let's see. I'm going to put this on. I like that for now. Actually, never mind. I lied. I want this. Can't make up my mind. We have not talked in ages.
Who, me and you?
Yeah.
I know, dude. I'm working all the time. All the time.
It feels weird, Dave being out of town and he's working nights, and so I only get to talk to him. Like, he calls me in the morning, and because he's 2 hours behind, so the time change difference is killer. And then he calls me in the evening, right around 6:30, because he's getting ready to go to work. But
it must be nice to get to sleep in the 6 a.m. to go to work.
No, he's working 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. He's working all night. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's working all night.
It's like 6 a.m. would be half my day gone.
But it took him almost 3 days to get there, like 2.5 days. And the last day, y'all, got some funny stories for y'all. We'll go and get those out of the way. So the last day, he gets food poisoning from one of the hotels that he has stopped at, something that he ate. So he wakes up in the middle of the night, puking all night long. And then on the drive, it was the other end. So he had a very fun time on the last leg getting to where he's at.
Poor baby. And he's such a baby when he's sick.
Oh my God. It's pathetic. So pathetic.
Most men are that way, though.
They are. And I spoiled him. So, and then I get really cranky when I'm not sick because I still have to do those things. And it's like, I want somebody to pamper me.
It's like Chase will call me and he's like, Mom, I'm dying. I'm like, what's wrong? My nose is stopped up. Like, you're dying. But on the other side of that, I've seen Amber go to work where she's had laryngitis and can't even talk with respiratory infection, and that child will still get up. And she says, I'm not going to miss a day because I'm sick. If I'm taking a PTO day or a sick day, it's going to be because I want to go do something.
Right. So, like, when I had that concussion, I had that vendors event that weekend, And
Mhm.
like kind of bending over made me like dizzy bad. Like it was not a good thing. And the girl that is over it, she had done something in her neck where she couldn't turn her head at all. She was in so much pain. And so I'm trying to help her do something. And she said, "What the hell are you doing? You've got a fucking concussion." And I said, "Yeah, but I'm tougher than you. It's fine." Because she's young. She's really young. And she just died laughing. She said, "You might be right there." And I said, "I am extremely hard headed when I'm hurt. I'm just used to pushing through. And it just is one of those things. And so I don't even think about it. I'll be dizzy and have a headache in a minute. It's fine."
I just have a high pain tolerance.
Same, same. So here's a
I don't
funny story.
know.
I don't know. Did you read my Facebook today?
Me?
I don't think you had. Yes, I don't think you've had time.
No, I have. I
Well,
ain't even been home that long.
so y'all know every night as I'm closing up, I'm always looking outside and checking, and we've had, things getting my chickens like crazy. And so Sam and Dean
Oh
are
Lord, again.
it's always Sam and Dean. It's always Sam and Dean. They're staring at the back fence, and I'm thinking, oh, something's out there. Like they're pretty alert to what's going on. So I get the flashlight and I head on outside and I go check everything. There's nothing. So as I'm coming back in, and they're rocking at me, and my cat Jasper is meowing. Well, he wants love. So I stop and I'm loving on Jasper, and they're like sneaking up, wanting to do sneak attacks because they're assholes. And I'm like, y'all quit. Well, I'm steadily fighting with them and I'm not paying any attention, right? No attention whatsoever. And,
Hmm.
I've had 87 pounds of weight loss, guys, and all of my clothes are too big. My shorts had slipped down past my ass. And I'm mooning. If the neighbors could have seen in the backyard, I would have been
Wait,
mooning.
don't I have access to all your cameras? Could I not see that?
No, because I don't have one on the back door yet.
Like, I
The side
put it on.
and the one in the front, but not one in the very back little area, because David would have been pulling that up to laugh at that shit. Because but I don't even have my
That's what
phone.
I was gonna do. Send
And
it into America's
I'm out
Home
there
Videos.
laughing. I'm thinking my neighbors, it's midnight. They're probably going, "What the fuck is wrong with this woman?" Because I'm out there cackling like, oh, it was bad. Here these two are. They're hissing and quawking at me, and my shorts are past my ass. I'm like, oh my God.
There's two men at work. I mean, they're older, like probably 60s, early 70s. And one is diehard Republican, one is diehard Democrat. And they will sit and argue and fight and get mad at each other and argue and fight. And I was telling my boss the other day, I said, we could make some money if we'd put a camera on them. Because they are just so hilarious. They bring up Reagan and they are hilarious. So that's twice this week I missed the opportunity to get videos to send in to America's Home Videos.
Yes,
The
Ellen
two old
Morgan.
guys at work and you.
Dave was like, "Babe, didn't you just buy clothes?" I said, "I bought 2 pairs of jeans and 1 pair of blue jean shorts. Or I bought a pair of jeans, a pair of capris, and a pair of blue jean shorts. And then I bought 1 pair of those cotton. I wear a lot of the cotton stretchy shorts around the house." And I
Mhm.
said, "So those are dirty. They're in the dirty clothes that I haven't washed yet because I don't have a full load." And I said, "So I've got my old shorts on." He's like, "Babe," because I was just complaining about the other pair that was falling off. And he's like, "Babe, go buy clothes this week." And I said, "I'm going to have to because I don't have anything that's going to fit through winter." None of my
I
sweat.
hate shopping with a
I hate
passion.
it. I hate it. Well, the thing is I'm losing weight and I don't want to keep buying shit. So I'm like trying to wear what I have, but it's at the point now to where I'm going to embarrass myself. But I come in last night just rolling. It was like, oh, leave it to me. Just leave it to me. It's bad enough that my geese are
Maybe.
now my mailman and the UPS guy. And evidently they've gotten the UPS guy because he was here the other day dropping a package off. And I told him what I was doing with packages because evidently my mailman was offended. And he said, "Oh, well, I'm glad too, because that's been interesting." And I said, "I'm so sorry."
Oh Lord. They need their own TikTok.
Yeah, I'm going to have to make them their own
They are
TikTok
hilarious.
because they're just too much fun. And I tried the whole. I needed to wait and have Dave videoing me drop into the ground because that was hilarious. I only got part of it because it's really funny to watch them. They're having a fit because they're not too sure why I'm laying on the ground. Thank you, LM Dragon. It's been a journey. I've got roughly 50 to go, which is the hardest. And I think they say is the last bit is the hardest. Ugh. But Jojo should be here momentarily. She just texted me.
Who?
Jojo, she's going to join us. She was wanting to talk Menendez
Well,
Brothers.
good, because I really don't know this case. I've not been a lot of help to you or anyone else lately.
It's one of those. There were some things I found today that probably discussed next week or the week after, and I'm like, oh, maybe Kendall will get some time because I would like for you to do the AI autopsy kind of thing like you did with Dee Dee.
Yeah, I keep making promises, but Lord.
Well, I would show the pictures, but I don't want to get freaking flagged or in trouble for it because you never know what somebody might get offended over. Because I'm not offended
we
by
have that software for a year or so.
True. Yeah, we need to use it.
So we need to do something with it.
Yeah.
That's high-tech software for us not to be doing anything with it.
I don't want anybody getting highly offended because a lot of this topic in this story is very triggering, and not everybody is like me and totally into the gore pictures. So I found them all today, and I'm like, holy shit! Like, oh my god! And I have them, and I'm like, oh, I could show them, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't. For one, I don't want to lose my monetization on the video, and two, I don't want to get flagged.
I mean, I know the basis of this case because what I know about it, and that's what I was telling JoJo the other day, that I'm very open to, learning more about it, a lot more educated about it before I make my in stone opinion. Because as of now, what I know is I get the abuse. I mean, it was awful, but the crime itself too was brutal. And the way they spent the money afterwards, to me, is very questionable. So, and nobody seems to agree with that. So therefore,
how I see that. You know how I see that money spending?
Don't know enough. Do what?
You know how I see the money spending? I see, for one, I mean, they could be victims of this abuse and absolute spoiled brats all at the same time, right? I think
both things could be true.
I think were both very young. They were 19 and 21. And it's like, oh, we've got the money and we're free. And they went hog wild. I think that was also kind of trying to mask what, mentally they were going on. I mean, with him, Eric was struggling. I mean, because he did go to the therapist. So he was struggling. So that to me shows there was some guilt with what happened. So I think absolutely they were spoiled rich kids that went hog wild with the money.
I think maybe as far as what I know at this point, I think I would feel different if they would have took the money and like left the country or something, or just, I don't know. Like I said, I can't even really give my opinion because I don't really know what it is yet, because I don't know enough about it. Because like I said, every time I've talked to several people and I give what I think my opinion is at this point for what I know, and nobody agrees with it. They're like, no, it's not about the money. It's never about the money, or it's not about the money. And I'm like, but to me, a big part of it is the money. So I'm just going to hold off giving what I actually really, I just need to know more.
That's true.
I think me and Boston is the only two that I've seen that.
Yeah, Boston's like, they don't need to be out. They don't need to be out. I mean, she's adamant. And I'm like, I don't agree. But at the same time,
that was brutal. I mean, they loaded it.
Just because.
But I also know that trauma does. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't interrupt.
We have a delay. It's fine. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Now go ahead and finish what you were saying. There was a weird delay.
It's because I'm at the tiny house. I just can't make it up that hill tonight to go up to the big house. I don't know. Go ahead. Go ahead. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Um, it's just because they reloaded, and the crime itself was brutal, and it it just didn't seem planned, or what I know about it. It's like it kind of just happened, and then it was just overboard kill, and then the crazy spending with the money. I won't go as far as saying that they um, deserve to stay locked up, because I believe they did go through a whole lifetime of, or childhood of SA, and we know how much damage that can do. I can't even
Mhm.
imagine it for the length of time that they went through it. But I wouldn't go as far as to say that I believe they should stay locked up, and die in prison. But I just believe the
Hey,
money was
Jojo.
a huge, huge part of it.
Jojo
But I
found
could
the
change my mind when
link.
when I learn more.
Well, and
I'm glad JoJo's going to be here, because I know she's all up on this case.
well, and I something that, and I've kind of said this a few times, and I read some more on it today. Just because they've come down and are recommending a resentencing, they're not recommending that they be released. They still, if this judge sees that this is justifiable and he goes forward with it, that's recommending them for parole. That still doesn't mean that they're going to get the parole to get out.
Yeah, but what I did learn about them is they've done a lot of good stuff in prison.
Yes.
And what makes for me that's why I said that I will not say I don't think they should ever get out. Because that part I did do a little bit of research, or actually did do research. I watched a couple of videos. But that they did that good in prison and helped other inmates know that they would never out a day. Where most inmates, they do stuff to pad their jacket for parole, right?
Right.
So them doing as good as they did in prison and helping others, thinking that they would never see the light of day, means there's still good in them.
Hey, Jojo, did you want your
So
camera on?
Hi guys.
Did you want your camera on?
I don't care.
Well, I was talking about her. She's
Are you talking to JoJo?
yeah.
Oh, okay. Like, I don't
Oh, I
care.
don't care.
Huh?
I'm just sitting here eating some potatoes. I just found you guys.
Oh, that's. I thought to eat a while ago because it's the day after my shot. I don't think to eat, and I was like, oh, I should eat something. But yeah, Kendall, they have really worked hard at trying to better other inmates and themselves, and trying to be model people and do something good. And I think that is big, considering they didn't have the chance of parole. That to me speaks huge.
Right. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
So, Jojo, how is your day going?
It's going pretty good. Actually, oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you not hear us?
I watched some of the Menendez docu-series on Max. You know what? It's like echoing on my end for some reason.
I don't hear the
Let me
echo. So yours.
drop down, because, like I said, it'll probably be better for you two anyway. So
Okay,
I'll
you
drop
should
down
go.
and just listen and be in the chat.
Okay.
All right, dear. Bye.
All right. Bye. She's had a very long day. Is it still echoing, Jojo?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. I didn't want her to think she had to drop down because
No, her internet at her tiny house is very bad, and she's had a very long day, so she wasn't up to walking up to the big house for the internet. So you were saying you watched what now?
okay. Gotcha. Yes, I was watching. I was in the middle of watching I've watched so many docu-series on them over the years and read so
Mhm.
many books. I was watching the one on Max.
On what? You broke up. You must be having bad internet connections too.
Yeah, you know what? I keep repeating too. Like I hear myself twice.
Do you have YouTube open in the background? If you were in YouTube, because you came into the chat, when you click the link to come up, it left YouTube open. So go close YouTube out.
Okay.
Is that better?
How's that?
Sounds good to me. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, perfectly now.
Okay, there you go. So where was the documentary at that you watched?
I'm in the middle of watching the Menendez Brothers documentary that's on Max.
Oh, okay.
Like HBO. I watched the one on Netflix. I did not watch the Monsters docu-series because I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I'd rather see the real story anyway.
I did watch it. I don't think it was as bad as what people are saying. What they did, but because I look at docuseries, it's not even really a docuseries. I look at those kind of shows like that when they get on Dahmer as not completely factual, and they embellish just like they did with the act with Gypsy. They embellish a lot of stuff, so like their behavior, we don't know that that's how they were behaving, and so that's just kind of I think it was overkill, and I do think that part of it tried to make Eric look negative in a way of being bisexual, because they gave it a negative connotation. You know what I mean? Not that I'm saying being bisexual is negative, but they gave it a negative connotation. And then they made Lyle seem very frivolous and just a snotty jackass. But I mean, if you some of the stuff that he did when they first got arrested, he was a little snotty jackass, but he was a 21-year-old rich kid.
Exactly. And I've been looking at a lot of the past reactions to the case and how we as Generation Xers reacted to the case. And, I was told I was 16 when this all happened. So, this was my first experience with this. And I remember being told, they were spoiled rich boys, and what happened to them doesn't happen to boys.
Right. Well, you remember in that time, because I was 16 as well. As a matter of fact, I had my daughter in June. This happened in August.
Wow.
And I was a teenage mom. But we were also told boys don't cry. And we were taught only girls were abused sexually. So nobody ever discussed or talked about boys being victims in any way like that. And not just in this way, but even in domestic violence situations, it just couldn't happen. And the prosecutor even said in this case, they could not have been AR'd because they didn't have the right equipment. How fucking stupid is she?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I would like to know if she would take that sentence back now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's why, the one thing I've noticed over the years, and it's always struck me, the judge who presided over the two cases, and I think we might have talked a little bit about this, he just looked disgusted. Like, I have screenshots that I took of him during the trial, and you can just see the look of disgust on his face. I honestly don't think he could handle it either.
Well, I have a clip of when they're playing the audio from the therapist, and he looks like he's sleeping.
Really?
He literally, because he's sitting there and he's looking down like he's looking at papers, but it looks like he's sleeping. I mean,
Huh.
he could just be reading the papers, but to me, he looks like he's sleeping.
Wow.
And it's like they didn't want to lose this case. They didn't want to lose this case. But
Well, you had OJ was just like such a
right.
loaded.
Let's do a little bit of an intro
you know?
for those that may not be aware, that may be watching on replay, because I think everybody that's in here right now knows the gist of the case. But because I had this wrote up to do, and I got so sidetracked. So if you're just joining us, or if you're watching on the replay, we're going to be doing a multi-part series on the Menendez brothers, and I struggle with that name for whatever reason. In August of 1989, Beverly Hills Dispatch received this call, and let me play this for you real quick. Where did I put it? Ah, there it is.
Beverly Hills emergency.
Yes, police.
What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem?
Someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Are they still there?
Yes.
The people.
No.
Were they shot?
Hey, man,
Were they shot?
Yes.
They were shot?
Yes.
102 response. 722 North Elmore.
What happened? Hey, stand up,
I have a hysterical person on. We're trying to get things further. Other units responding. Is the person still there?
What happened? We have units around. What happened? Who shot who? I don't hear anything. I just came home. You came home and found who shot? My mom and dad.
You know if they're still in the house, the people that did the shooting.
Get away from him. Okay, hang on. Let me talk to Eric. Who is the person that was shot? My mom and my dad. Your mom and dad? My mom and my dad. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, we're on our way over there with the ambulance. Okay, I gotta go. Okay.
Oh.
Hello, this is police department. Yes. Okay, I want you to come outside. Okay, just come out the front door and my brother.
That was the 911 call.
Yeah, I remember that so well. I remember seeing that on the trial so well. I remember the pictures, and I remember going, I can't watch this.
So Jose and Kitty Menendez were found executed in their Beverly Hills mansion in what resembled a mob hit.
Mm-hmm.
After
Absolutely.
confessing to their therapist about what happened, the boys were arrested a few months later. That was, sorry, not just a few months later. It was March of 1990. So that was, I'm not doing math.
So I got to the point today, and I guess we'll go like before the arrest. And I wanted to get like your thoughts on the amount of money that was being spent. I'm sure Kendall probably, I know that she had her thoughts on this. And if you thought that there could have been a motive outside the abuse, knowing that they were going to be disinherited. So apparently they had deleted the file from the computer.
Yes, and they had hired somebody to delete the files on Mom's computer.
Yep.
I think it's a little bit of both. Okay, I think here's
that's
how
I
thought. What they come out with is that both boys were sexually abused by their dad for years.
Mm-hmm.
Eric shared with Lyle was away at college, and I'll backtrack in a minute. I'm gonna go here. We'll go here first because you asked this question. I want to backtrack to how they got to where they were. Got kicked out. Gotten not kicked out of college, but on probation. I think it was at Princeton for cheating because he was a typical rich boy that was the heir apparent and, just acting out. He didn't. I kind of feel like they didn't have to do anything because they were rich. So mom and dad did everything and paid for everything, and typical rich kid acting like an asshole. And when he came home, they were struggling so badly with their parents and with the boys' attitudes and all those things. And I think Eric shared with Lyle what was going on because it wouldn't stop. It was still happening at 19. And he just, I think that is when they kind of lost it. And I think when they confronted Jose, I do think they firmly believed that Jose and Kitty would take their lives. And I would think that in some of the conversations about getting the guns and planning this murder, that they very well said, we have to make sure we find the files so that we get the money because we have nothing when they're gone.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I kind of feel like that could have been, but I don't think that was the deciding factor. I do think the abuse worked their minds, and because we know there's a lot of studies on that abuse causes changing in your brain chemistry,
I totally believe they were abused the way they were. I mean,
yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind. But I also can ascribe to the financial motivation as well. I mean, I look at it from a perspective of, okay, they were two spoiled rich boys, but they were two spoiled rich boys who were being severely abused by their father. He controlled everything they did, where they could go to school, what they could do, what sports they could play. And after all of that and going through all of that, what mom used to call punishment, now you're being disinherited. Yeah, that made me pretty angry too.
Right. Well, and so Jose came to this country as a rich kid anyways. He was from a very prominent family in Cuba. When Castro took over the government there and was taking the riches, and I don't know, it was a big mess. I wasn't born yet, so it's part of school history that I'd have to go back and really refresh my memory on. But he came here in, oh Lord, what year was it?
Was it in the 60s?
Let's see. Well, Lyle was born in 1968. I want to say it was 1950.
Yeah, maybe it was around the early 50s because I remember like he looked really, really young in some of the photos I saw in the doc, but I can't remember the exact year.
1959.
Okay.
Well, it says, so Fidel Castro ceased power in 1959, and Jose's parents decided to send their son to the United States to escape the tumultuous political climate.
Right.
He settled in Pennsylvania with a cousin, and he lived in the attic. He was unable to speak English, but he worked hard to learn English and maintain grades in high school. Went on to college. He went to the Southern Illinois University, and he met Mary Louise Anderson, also known as Kitty. Mm-hmm. So Kitty was from, a nice, well-to-do family. They weren't like extremely rich, but they weren't poor either. But the families didn't want them to get married. Like neither family wanted either one to get married, and they got married. They thought they were too young or whatever. He was 19, and she was 19, and I don't know how old he was. He might have been the same, but they got married. And in 1968 they had Lyle, and then in 1970 they had Eric. And with the family to support, it says Jose was more determined than ever to succeed in America. He picked up his first professional job at Cooper's and Librand accounting firm. One of his clients, Lyons Container Service in Illinois, was so impressed by his work that the company hired him away to become a comptroller within 3 years, Jose was company president. So he was a go-getter. Like, he was not afraid to push, and just a very type A personality.
Yeah, and really super smart. I mean, he rose to the top really, really quickly. Not a lot of people can do that, especially coming, you know, from another country. And, you know, I don't know how much
Well,
English he knew when he came here.
He was a champion swimmer in Cuba.
That's
so. I mean, he was, you know, very fluent. At age 35, he became executive vice president of U.S. operations for Carbonyl Company, Hertz, subsidiary of Consumer Electronics Corporation, RCA, a year later. RCA transferred Jose to its records division, and he was eventually named chief operating officer. His attitude was, I'm a winner. I'm going to take this dog company and make it number one. John Mason, an entertainment attorney and friend of Jose, told that to the New York Times. He expanded the company's Latin music catalog. He helped sign notable groups like Duran Duran, Eurythmics, and the boy band Menudo, which is going to come into play currently. His success allowed him to relocate the family from New Jersey to California. First to Calabasas, suburb of Los Angeles, and then to Beverly Hills. Now, when they were in Calabasas, the boys got in trouble. They were stealing from homes of friends of theirs.
And stupid things like petty larceny kind of things, right?
Right. And so they were literally stealing it and like not even doing anything with it. And so he talked Eric into taking the rap because he was 17. And that way Lyle wouldn't get in trouble and could go on to Princeton. And they were going to therapy. And that's how this therapist comes into play. This therapist was part of their court requirement. Now, let's face it, if they were not rich and in Calabasas and Beverly Hills in these areas, they would have been in trouble. Most teenagers get in trouble for this kind of stuff, not ordered to seek therapy. So this is where the money plays in and their influential background. So he was disgusted with the trouble they got into Calabasas and moved them to Beverly Hills. So Kendall says, was there any allegations of abuse against Kitty by the boys' father?
I know there was definitely some mental abuse. In some of the documentaries I've seen and some of the things I've read, there could have been some physical abuse, but definitely not to the point of what he was inflicting on the children.
He had several affairs. He had lots of affairs. One of the women he had actually bought a condo or townhome or something like that for. I think he was verbally abusive to her, from what I can tell. Now, there are allegations in the family of Kitty being abused by her own father. Or by somebody in the family. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say father because I don't know exactly who the allegations are towards. I was trying to find that today because I couldn't remember who it was. But there are some allegations that something happened in her history, because we know abusers were abused typically.
Yes, I remember hearing something. I thought it was dad too, but I'd have to be fact checked as well.
Yeah. I don't take my word as that for fact. I just remember sometimes it's dad, but I could be wrong. But in people who are abused are more likely to abuse others. So I have to wonder what might have gone on in even Jose's background. But they're kind of close-lipped. I mean, the Cuban side of the family, other than defending the boys. Now, the families, there's only, I think, one or maybe two family members that are saying they were not abused, they need to stay in prison. And then there's like 30 others that are like, no, they were abused. Let them out. So
I believe the one man is 90 years old. I think it's one of Kitty's brothers. And
Yeah,
he
I think
can't speak for himself. He's an older gentleman, and he just said it never happened. That's like
Right.
what his lawyer says. It never happened.
But he's also, I take it, he's also from that generation.
Yep. I felt the same way,
It-
Brandy. Exactly.
you know, that generation is adamant boys are not abused. It doesn't happen.
Yep.
You don't talk about it. That thing. And so I think that is a generational thing. And maybe he doesn't want to believe it. Maybe it's too hard to believe that your sister would be okay with her boys being abused this way. I mean, I can see that too.
Totally.
But
Totally.
there's some allegations that I was reading today about that happened in their childhood. Matter of fact, let me find. I want to show the picture. And like I found, like I'm like going crazy with the freaking all the autopsy photos and crime scene photos that I have. But I know if I showed them, somebody's gonna have a fit cow. So I won't show them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you get like screenshots of the blurred ones. Those seem to be up all over the place, but like, you know, just like the actual.
No, I
you can
found them today on Reddit where they're all there.
Oh yeah. Well, that's Reddit for you.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, so this here, from what I can understand, this is going to be the dog in question. This cute little black, it looks like a black lab.
Aw.
This was Eric's favorite dog. He absolutely loved this dog. Now, what they're saying is that they had ferrets, and one of the ferrets they found dead. And Kitty and Jose blamed the dogs for it. And the boys went to the freezer and found this dog's head inside the freezer.
That's horrendous.
Nobody knows who did it, but can you imagine this little boy right here, either one of the boys, opening the freezer and finding their dog inside of it? Like, what kind of person does that?
Yeah, that's absolutely horrific. Wow.
And this isn't the only story of this. There was a bunny rabbit that I want to say it was Eric brought home from school, because you know how they used to. We had pets in school. We had a class pet, and he fell in love with the one bunny rabbit, and they let him bring it home. And supposedly Kitty and Jose were pissed off about that. Now I remember in school you had to have permission to bring it home, so I find that kind of weird.
Right.
And they mutilated this bunny and threw it in the trash can. And Kitty tells him, we killed your bunny. You can find it. It's in the trash can. And so he went to the trash can and found it all bloody, covered in flies, and was just horrified and went and buried it, had his own little funeral for the bunny rabbit.
Well, you know, the kind of things you're telling me kind of explains the behaviors of rebellions and some of the stuff that they were doing in their teens that, you know, people kind of held against them later on. So, you know, if they were experiencing, I mean, I couldn't even imagine. Oh, that's like the worst kind of psychological abuse you can inflict on a child.
Bad. Like, for one thing, people there, you know, there is a link between serial killers and people who kill animals viciously.
Yes, there definitely is.
I have to wonder if they have not looked at people who did this kind of torture with animals also having links to sexual abuse, or being predators of sexual abuse, because who in their right mind would do these kinds of things to an animal? I mean, now, don't get me wrong. We have had to put dogs down. We have had to do things like that. We've had dogs show up that are pack mentality and vicious and attacking animals and trying to go after my father-in-law years ago. Came up and they were literally going after my father-in-law. and he had already had his stroke and was like shuffle stepping, and it was dangerous. And we were rural, so we called the sheriff, and they're like, you just have to take care of it yourself. We don't have animal control. And so that was hard because my husband and I are both animal lovers, and it was the hardest thing ever to have to do that kind of thing. But we had to protect my father-in-law.
Of course.
And these dogs, I mean, they were huge. They were like 80-pound dogs. They were humongous dogs. They could have torn him to pieces. So that kind of thing I'm not talking about. But to do the kind of torture where you're beating an animal to death and cutting its head off.
But we don't know if it was Kitty or Jose, correct?
Right. And
So
we don't
it
know
could
on
have
either
even
animal.
been Lyle for all we know, right?
What was that? I didn't hear you.
I said it could have been Lyle for all we know.
No, they told both boys, or both boys found it.
Okay.
So,
Both
and
devastated.
one of
Okay.
the family members in one of the documentaries, one of the family members talks about it, and she, believe she says that it was Kitty and Jose. And I've been kind of trying to read up on some of that today, because that to me is another side of the psychological abuse that they were going through.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of gives you another different picture of Jose and Kitty as parents.
Yeah.
I am like, look, I love my husband with everything in me. He is my soulmate. He is my ride or die. But let me tell you what, if he was to ever put tacks in my children's thighs, and that is something in the trial they talk about. And when we cover trial day, we'll go over some of that. That man's going to get a pot upside his head, and he's getting out of my house. You know, I would have never allowed anybody to hurt my children that way.
Yeah. I mean, neither would I. To me, it's just an unfathomable thing. And that's why I said, as a young child, as a young girl, I had a hard time with it. And then when I got older and I started really understanding, it really started with trying to understand homosexuality. And then from there, I was kind of like, okay, now I see. But this is just like, to this day, it still shocks me that a father could do that to their child.
I don't understand, because my dad, now he couldn't harm a fly. My daddy was the sweetest, most kindest man, to his own detriment. And so I had one spanking from my daddy in my life, and I was 2 years old, and I had gotten away from them. And when they finally figured out where I was sitting underneath one of our horses that happened to be one of the craziest horses we had that nobody trusted. And I'm literally sitting underneath the horse talking to it. Like I'm having a conversation, and it's looking at me like, oh, hey kid, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So when my brothers got the feed bucket and got the horse to come on, and they're trying to do it carefully so the horse doesn't all of a sudden decide to kick me. And daddy gets to me, and mom said he dusted my diaper, because I had a diaper on. I was 2. And she said it broke my heart, and it broke his heart, because he was crying, because daddy, that was the only spanking I ever had from my dad ever. Daddy would say,
I had quite a few, but I was a little bit of a rebel myself. But I have to say, at the end of the day,
no, I had it from my mama. Now my mama whipped my butt several times, but not my daddy.
Yeah.
Not my daddy ever. So I can't understand that on a dad's side. And even with my husband, now he has paddled my children, but not anything close to this, and it finally got to a point where he would just scream and holler, and I would tell the kids, look, did you have to set him off? Like, seriously, now I get to listen to it. Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, right, Ellen Dragon farm life. My farm life, it's just people that grew up on farms, that's just what happens. But the stories that came out of the different things these kids went through, and they've asked, why kill mom the way they did? Because she wasn't abusing them. She might not have been physically putting her hands on them, but she was protecting the one who was. And she was egging them on, and she would tell them, this is what happens to you. This is what you deserve. And they do say that she was depressed. They say that she was drinking heavily and taking pills. And so, being that Jose was having affairs and abusing the children, she was self-medicating. And to them, I think that when they finally decided to pull the trigger, it was like the dam broke and there was just no stopping.
I agree.
Now, could the money have played a little bit of role in that too? It's possible. I'm not going to deny that it's possible, but I just don't think that it was the deciding factor. I think it could have been a motivator, and it could have been played some role in it. I just don't think it was the main factor. I just don't.
You know what I think, Brandy? I agree with you. I don't think it was either. And I think at the time, to kind of veer the public's attention away from something that, in society wasn't really accepted yet, some part of me says that they used especially the media really went all out on that, rather than, look what Barbara Walters did to them, for crying out loud. I mean, they didn't want to accept, even the mainstream media, that
even Oprah Winfrey, who has gotten on there on her own platform and talked about sexual abuse, said that it couldn't have happened, that they were just spoiled rich kids. Like, it was really a big thing in the media, which we see it play out now, right? We see social media do the same thing, going after somebody relentlessly. So it was the same then, but it's definitely a different time to where we're having these conversations and being a little bit more honest and transparent when it comes to these issues. One thing, and I found this. Hold on, let me show this. Where'd it go? So this was on Lyle's. Oh, well, it's not going to work that way because it's behind my. Didn't I put it on the overlay? No, of course I did not. Wait, yes I did. I'm talking to myself over here. A note to anyone who needs to hear it. We don't get over or move on from our trauma. We are focused to make space for it. We carry it. We learn to live with it. And sometimes we thrive in spite of it. And that was posted on Lyle's Facebook page that they have. And I think that's important. If you are somebody who is going through any kind of abuse, whether it be spousal abuse, sexual abuse, just know you're not alone. And these people that want to say, just get over it. They just need to get over it. It happened. It's whatever. That's not how life works. And that's not okay to tell somebody.
No, it's not. And, and I think since 1989, we really have evolved a lot as a society in general. And I think if this case had been tried today, I don't think we'd see this kind of an outcome. I think it would have been a lot different.
I do too. Well, because, they have the first trial in, let's see, that went in
1993, I think that was. Right?
93, July of 93 is when the first trial starts. They have two juries, and both trials were so different. First trial, they have two juries, and they bring in all of this evidence of the abuse. That's where, when we get to cover the trial part, we'll cover some of their testimonies and what was said, and the pictures and the different witnesses and all of those things. All of that was there. So they come back with a deadlocked jury, both juries. So 24 people, half on one side, half on the other. So they were deadlocked. So then they go back and they're going to retry. But guess what happens? In between that one and the other trial, we have OJ. So
weren't they all like in the same like
yep, they were in the same
area
jail.
together because they knew each other, right? Yeah.
Yes, OJ actually knew them. He had known their father.
Yes, he worked for their father. For
And
Hertz.
so like even Sylvester Stallone knew them.
Mm-hmm.
So, these were big timers. And they have OJ's trial, which is a shit show. And DA, LA County's got egg on their face big time when that's over with. Because guess what? We all know he did it. And they dropped the ball bigger than Stuttgart. And so now they've got to do this trial again. Another high profile. It's been high profile from the first one. It's high profile again. And they aren't going to lose again. They're not. And this judge would not allow half, if not more than half of the evidence.
Oops.
You all right?
Yeah, I hit something on my computer accidentally. I gotcha.
They only allowed one jury instead of two juries. So they were tried, together with the same jury, which I think is weird. That to me was just weird. I don't think that the therapist testimony with the recording should have ever been played in court, because there is doctor-client privilege, and that should not have been played, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But in between the trials, Lyle, with his dumb, immature self, is running his mouth, talking big to the girl, and she leaks the phone calls.
Yep.
So
not a smart move on his part.
And what I see with that, I'm going, okay, so when he was arrested, he was 21. At this point, he's 24-ish, young boy, rich kid. So he's got an ego. We know he's got an ego. They were both amazing tennis players. And he's talking to this girl, and he's thinking he's got it in the bag, and he's looking like the big dog and all of those things. And it just totally bit him in the ass.
Sure did.
And because they knew if they put him on the stand, then the prosecutors could bring those tapes into evidence. And that probably would have not been good for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they would have come back with the death penalty. I think
I agree with you. I think it would have totally taken a different turn, you know,
so,
and I'm glad it didn't go that way, because now that we have evolved so much, they, I mean, at the end of this, they may be able to come home.
Right. Well, and so with Lyle not testifying, half of the witnesses didn't testify because they were his witnesses.
Yep.
And without having him on the stand to have them to corroborate what he's saying, it was just useless. So their hands were just so tied with everything in that second trial. Now they came back with, first degree murder, and they did, life without parole is what they were given. And the guys go in, on with prison, and they have excelled, and they've led exemplary lives. They different programs for other inmates, for therapy for sexual trauma, teaching, advocating for better accommodations. I mean, they have really worked hard at being good, productive citizens of the prison without the chance of ever getting out. And now they have a chance. So I think if the parole board comes back and says, we'll release you on parole, that's still in the air. Like, even if this judge comes back and says he agrees, signs it and stamps it, and they have a chance for parole, doesn't mean a parole board's going to see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why people are all up in arms about this habeas filing and them coming back for resentencing. That doesn't mean these boys get out. These men, they're men now, get out of prison, because all it means is that they get the chance to go before a parole board.
Right.
And if they get out, they're coming out as major felons. They're going to have very strict guidelines to live by. And they're going to have, their parole lot longer than, a year. It's going to be years. If not, I mean, I haven't looked at that, so I don't know how long or if that is, if it just follows them for life at that point. I don't know how that works with that. But, we just have to kind of play it by ear. And I'm hoping, I guess it'll be sometime next month when the judge makes that. I hope they televise that because I'd like to stream that.
Yeah, I'd love to see that myself. But I heard it could be as early as a week away with election day coming.
That is true. I do think the election part of it has a lot to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, Sarah Beth says still worth them getting out and able to be around family that love them. Absolutely. And I think it's still worth them and fighting for other victims. I think they can come out and use their status to truly advocate for other victims of trauma. Because
and honestly, I think they'll actually do it.
I do too. We are in a time in our society where Hollywood's crumbling. Like we've got Diddy right now with all of that shit show. We've had, the two Coreys, they were speaking out for years about what was happening with child actors in the industry. Corey Haim took his own life because of that trauma. Corey Feldman has been threatened. He has been blackballed. He's had to make his own way again to try and fight for the voices. We've got women coming out like at this time during this trial. One of the big shows on TV was the Cosby Show. Everybody loved the Cosbys, and Bill Cosby. He had the what was the cartoon, the kid show where he did the color.
Was it Fat Albert?
Albert, but there was the other show that he was on. And they did the because I remember getting one of the books. You could order the book, and it was like you could do the workbook during the show. I don't remember what the name of that was. Let's see if I can look it up. And now we know what Bill Cosby was doing in that time. Like he's doing a kids show, and he's a predator. He's in prison for it.
Mm-hmm.
So. We weren't talking about it in the early 90s, but we sure are now in the 2000s.
I mean, especially with the whole Me Too movement, and people are finally starting to speak out. I mean, I think this just all falls in line with it, but I do have to say, I think the Menendez brothers should be a little more grateful to Ryan Murphy.
They may not like the show, but I think it absolutely brought some eyes on it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So, look, I'm just talking about Bill Cosby. Here's the shows that he was on. Of course, I talked about the Cosby Show. We talked about Fat Albert, Little Bill, which is the other little cartoon that was from 1999 to 2004. There was the cartoon Fat Albert, and then there was the real life show Fat Albert. There was the Bill Cosby comedy show. There was a Cosby comedy show. There was I Spy, which was in 1965 to 1968. Bill Cosby himself, which is another Cosby show that I absolutely love. It's probably one of my favorite comedy shows because he does this skit about the child climbing up on the refrigerator to get the cookies. And he was like, I was getting it for you. It's one of my favorite skits. A different total train of thought, side train there. Ghost Dad, Let's Do It Again, Uptown Saturday, Picture Pages. That was the show, Picture Pages. Jack, A Piece of the Action, Leonard Part 6, Hey, looks like Fat Albert again. The Meteor Man, The Cosby Mysteries, The Tonight Show, Seeing All Red, Kids Say the Darndest Things. That was a kid's show that he was on. Mm-hmm. It just goes on. More kid shows. Just baffles me. So that says that you watched the Law and Order series on the Brothers, probably the best one. I did not even know that was there until the other day. I've got to go look it up.
I have not watched that series. Like anything I've watched, like I told you, I didn't watch the Monsters one because I got that vibe, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I want to go there, but I may watch it now because it sounds
because
as bad as I thought it was going to be.
I like Ryan Murphy's Dahmer series. And even though I'm understand it seems sensationalized and that it seems like we're glorifying a killer, I get it. But I am all about those things. And so, well, not those things, but those shows. I like to see things on Dahmer and different.
Yep.
I'm a true crime buff. I watch all of it. Like I said,
Yep.
right now, if I pulled up my little thing, y'all are going to see all these freaking crime scene photos that are absolutely insane. Kendall's going to work. I'm going to get them to Kendall, and she's going to work up some AI images for it, so that when one of these episodes that we do, we can show it on AI to where it's not as graphic, but will still be pretty mind blowing. Let's see. See, Sarah Beth, the only thing that made me mad about it is I felt like they overdid the boys. Like it was just a little. I didn't like that they put the bisexuality and made it negative. I could absolutely see Lyle being that kind of a shithead with how they portrayed him. So the only thing that made me mad was how they portrayed Eric and trying to make the bisexuality a negative thing. Whether he's
Right.
bisexual or not, I don't know. None of my business. That's his life. But the way that Ryan Murphy kind of put that negative spin on it, that bothered me. That bothered me. All I say is, if you're going to watch The Monsters, it's not a documentary.
Sorry, my dog is so loud.
It's fine. I'm surprised I'm not barking yet. It's not a true documentary. It is a docu-series where they take factual events and add to it. So you have to like look at it and look at actual case files to see the truth in it and understand that you're just getting a dramatized version. Yeah, and part of it, Sarah Beth says they kind of played the essay off as if the boys made it up from the stories they had heard. They did kind of put that spin there a little bit. I can see that as the spin. I guess I just wasn't paying attention to it that way. I was watching the characters is what I wanted to see.
But that also could have been like through that cousin that states it never ever happened.
Right.
They just made it up, you know?
Right. Well, and like the cousin, isn't it Danny? It's not his name. That he was a witness for Eric, and then he took his life a couple of years ago, and they do feel that he had so much guilt over not being able to save Eric that because they were super close, that's why he took his life. And then they find the letter. The letter is what they're using to show they didn't make it up. That letter was written 8 months before the murder happened. And that alone proves that they were being abused at that time.
Right. That, and then if you think about Roy Rossellio, and I've been watching a lot on Menudo too, it's just so shocking.
Yes, Roy is one of the Menudo singers who is one of the acts that I read off a while ago that Jose signed to RCA. And he was 14 years old. And he doesn't even call it sexually assaulted. He says he was raped.
Yep, sure
and
does.
So don't smack me, YouTube. The R word. He was R'd.
I know. I'm allowed to say that on here.
Yeah, we can say it, but they will, if you say it too often, they will flag you some.
Right. Right.
But he was 14 years old, and it happened upstairs in that mansion in the exact same manner the boys claimed it happened to them. So tell me again how they made it up.
Yeah.
Because why would this man come out now and embarrass himself? It's embarrassing to have to own up to this kind of abuse. People that say that others are doing it for clout, no, get the fuck out of here with that.
And it's sad because, you know, he only had that one time with Jose, but Edgardo Diaz, it went on for years. I mean, what that poor man went through. I think after he just finally got out of the group, he just wanted to disappear.
Right.
You know, he said he was into substance abuse and you know, he was really going on a downward path. And then at one point he just decided he wanted to, you know, believe in his God and serve. And he went on like Peace Corps missions. I believe the one documentary I watched, he was coming back after being gone on a 10-year mission.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is like testimonial evidence. So at this time, you know, if you think about it, if they had this evidence during even the second trial, you know, people say it's not evidence per se because it's not actual evidence. Like, you know, Roy didn't go and get an R kit done afterwards, or, you know, things like that. But it would be enough to put somebody on the stand and say, yeah, he did it to me too.
Right.
Whether I pursued it or not, the act was still done. He would have been called to the stand. The cousin would have been called to the stand. They would have said, were you given this letter 8 months before? And then it still might have changed things. It might not have, but it might have.
I definitely think that if this trial was to happen now, it would be a totally different outcome. I think they would have been given manslaughter and at the worst been given manslaughter and released.
I couldn't agree more. And now it looks like they're going for that, 50 to life?
50 to life.
Because they were under the age of 26, it'll be time served, which would equal out to 35 years, right? And then they'd go home on parole.
Well, they're eligible for parole. So they still have to go in front of a parole board.
Right. The judge and then the parole board.
Right.
So
what I want to do on the next one, I would like to do, let's start doing the trial. This case is way too much to do in one episode. Jesus. Because we're talking 2 trials that went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. But I'd like to take the key points from the first trial and dissect that down. And of course, we don't have the second trial on video because they did not allow camera, but we can talk about the testimony of it. Pussycat, we do not know if they will be out by the new year. The judge still has to sign off and agree, and we're waiting on that. I would think they would want that done this week before elections, but it could be next month sometime. We just don't know when they're going to come down with that. So once the judge, and if the judge says he agrees and he puts his stamp on it, and they're saying that the judge that is been selected for this, that's on this, is very much known for resentencing. He supports it 100%. And I believe it's like out of all of the ones that they have sent for resentencing, he's only denied 2 out of like 100.
Wow.
So the chances of that happening are very high, but we do not know what a parole board will look at. And so we just kind of have to go. I agree. Pussycat, I agree. Pussycat says they think it's close. I agree. I think that it could be very close. In my opinion, I would love to see the boys out for Thanksgiving. I keep calling them
me
boys.
too.
They're older than me, and I keep calling them boys.
I know, right? Because when you still look at them, they don't show them how they look now a lot. I do the same
Right.
exact thing, and they're only a little older than me. So
Yeah, Eric is 2 years older than me, and Lyle is 4 years older than me. So, because I think you and I are the same age. So,
okay, gotcha.
yeah, I was born in 72. So,
Me too. Okay. So I think that, yes, they definitely should come home. I think it's time. I don't think they're going to be a detriment to society in any
No.
way.
no.
And yeah, Pussycat, I believe, I agree with you. Jail is supposed
Pussycat,
to
and
be
this
rehabilitation.
right here,
Absolutely.
Pussycat says, for those that are listening and not able to see the chat, well, jail is supposed to be rehabilitation. So I think they have been.
Yeah. Oh, they're
I
aiming for 1/125,
I
Pussycat?
absolutely think that I would love to see them do, not only working for victims and advocating, but I would like to see them advocate for true prison reform and getting inmates the actual help that they need while they are in there, so that those that are going to be released come out better and not worse. Because let's face it, they tend to come out worse than when they went in, which is why our prisons are so overcrowded.
Yep.
So, Ozzy, quit. The pug. Ozzy, stop. He doesn't want to share the couch with Bodie, and so he's acting like an asshole. And Bodie outweighs me by 50 pounds.
Yeah, I got mine that I'm just like, get him out of here. He's driving me crazy. He pulls me around in my desk chair.
Well, mine, I took them out early so that they wouldn't be in there losing their minds while I'm live. And because, mine go down for nap time in the middle of the day so I can get something done. Otherwise, I'm not getting anything done. And then I take them right about dark. I take them out, and then we go out again right before bedtime. And so they went out a little early, and so they're kind of sitting here looking at me like, oh, what are we doing?
Yep. I hear you.
Yes, Pussycat, I agree.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
And hopefully Kendall will be rested and they're trying to kill her at work. Like, did this job is part-time, and she's working overtime right now.
Oh, no.
They had to hire a bunch of people, and so she's like working extremely long hours, and so she is exhausted.
Yeah.
Yes, Kendall says we have some good people right now working toward prison reform. We have Jason, aka the Alaskan Avenger, JD, and now the brothers.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
If y'all have not been following, Kendall and I did Jason's story, the Alaskan Avenger, the other day, and I've been sharing a few of his things. Highly recommend y'all go follow him. He is coming out kicking ass. I'm loving it. Such an uplifting man to listen to. So uplifting to listen to, and I'm excited to see where he goes. I should have tagged him in this video. I may go back and do that because I truly believe in his job now and what he's doing, and I would love to see people like the Menendez brothers get out and do the same thing, and we change the system. The system. Because there are people, because I get asked all the time about Nicholas Godejohn and what I think there. If we truly had amazing prison reform that would truly work and help people to become better citizens when they get out, I would be more comfortable with people like Nicholas being released. And others as well. I mean, not just Nicholas. We have Carly. What is the girl's name? Carly, the new one, the young girl, the 15-year-old that just killed her mom.
Yep. I can't remember her last name either, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
I'm struggling with putting a 15-year-old in prison for the rest of her life. But at the same time, do we have a system that can rehabilitate her so that she comes out able to go back into society as a an amazing adult. And
I think what these people that, are serving their time need to remember too is they have to be able to consent to treatment. Like Lyle and Eric did those things. They consented to treatment, and then they went back to school, and then they started helping other prisoners so they could reform. So, what they've done in there really has just been, does it make up for the crime? No, but at least they've taken this time thinking they're going to be in there for the rest of their lives, and they've put some good back into the prison reform system. So
right.
I would hope they would continue to work towards that when they came out.
I think that they are going to have a massive platform to do that, because social media is exploding with this kind of stuff. And I'm finding it funny that the young TikTokers, and if you're a young TikToker watching, I apologize. I don't mean this to be derogatory in any way, but there are a lot of young TikTokers. I just watched a video where they're taking all the credit for the Menendez brothers being seen now and people listening, and that's not true. I'm so proud that you think you're the reason, babies, but a lot of us have been fighting for the Menendez brothers for years. I think that social media is in a place where people are having to listen, and we have these shows coming out that are opening eyes and making people listen.
Yep.
And I think it's a combined effort. I don't think it's any one demographic or age graphic type of thing. I think that it is all sides working together to bring a voice.
Yeah, Kendall, I agree. When treatment is available, that's the issue in some prisons. That's the issue in a lot of prisons all over the country. It's that rehabilitative piece that they just don't have, because a lot of them are overcrowded or closing, or like I know here in New York, they've been trying to close one of our prisons for years and just haven't been able to do it. But they're looking to do it. They've closed a few.
They closed one of ours. I think it was the juvenile facility that we had. And so when I drive past it, it's just this big, humongous building, still wrapped around barbed wire fencing around it, and nothing happened. I think they put goats in it recently. They put goats in it to eat the grass down. But I'm like, that could be used. It could be homeless housing. It could be something for people, redo the building and put it to use instead of just letting it go to waste.
Yep. We have the same kind of thing here in New York. We have this homeless shelter, and it closed 3 years ago, and it's just sitting there. And I see so many homeless people sitting on the side of the street, and I'm like, this is just not right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and y'all get really cold there. So here we don't get that cold. So I don't think about it till winter, and then I'm like, or when it's really hot. Now I do really think about our homeless when it's hot, because it's just, you can't get away from the heat here.
Right.
Not at 100% humidity. And like I was listening to people today, and like, well, I still have my AC on. And I'm laughing. I'm like, we keep ours on till like December.
No, ours is long off.
It is so hot here. Like I've been excited because we've had some cool fronts come in. So I've been able to turn my ACs off at night, or my living room AC off. My bedroom ain't happening. My bedroom's cold. I'm sleeping in the cold, dang it. And I'm like, man, my electric bill's gonna be happy this next month because I've been able to keep ACs off for a little bit.
No, I couldn't. The ACs are long off here. We have the heat on at night. It's getting down to like on Long Island, it's not as bad in like the 40s, but to me that's freezing. I'm already in all my sweats, all my summer stuff's put away. We're done.
Like I was telling everybody a while ago, I have to go buy clothes, like because of my weight loss. It's just I mooned. If the neighbors could have seen me in the backyard, I'm protected by trees and my building, so they didn't see me. Otherwise, me fighting with my geese last night so they wouldn't eat the cat, I mooned my neighbors. My shorts fell off. I did not realize it. It had slid my butt. And so I'm laughing. I'm out there midnight laughing my ass off. Neighbors were probably thinking, what the hell is wrong with that woman over there? And I text my husband to tell him, and he's dying laughing. He's like, babe, go buy some fucking clothes. And I'm like, I'm going to have to, because we're at winter. I have nothing that's going to fit me. Because, you're bundling up. I wear a lot of sweatpants and my fuzzy pants for winter. That's what around the house. That's what I wear. And I literally have one pair that I keep in my car when I go to my daughter's house because her house is always cold. So I put them over my clothes now. And the kids laugh as I'm like in her frame. I'm like, oh, I got to take my pants off. And I'm just shimmying out of my fuzzy pants because they're so big on me now. I can put them over my clothes. So I'm like, I've got to go shopping. I have to go shopping. I have one pair of stretchy shorts that fit, and I have nothing for winter that fits. Nothing.
Well, check out the TikTok shop. I get a lot off of there.
I may do that. For around the house, I am very basic. I like my warm-ups and I like my fuzzy pants.
Yeah.
And because I am a texture person, I have to especially if I'm having anxiety, I want the very fluffy, soft, cushiony stuff. And so I love Ellen Dragon. 2 words, drawstrings. I have drawstrings, but they went up inside the little waistband and I can't get them out.
Yeah.
That's what he said, babe, they don't have drawstrings. I'm like, well, they do, but I can't get to them. They're like inside the waistband. It's just, I'm a hot mess, guys.
Oh, if you like fuzzy stuff, check out my showcase because I have a lot of that kind of stuff.
Okay, good. I'll go look because I like the fuzzy clothes. I just found, and I have to get some pictures of them and show y'all what I'm making. I found some patterns for the fuzzy crocheted animals like dragons and the blankets that are like little bitty blankets that are like 18 inches in square with the animal head on it. So I'm making my grandbaby a raccoon. And I just made my dragon, and I've got a couple other ones that I'm gonna make, and I'm just love it. My husband's like, you're crocheting again. I'm like, babe, I love to crochet. It's coming up on winter, and this soft chenille yarn is my happy place. Beth Dobson, I thought this was Menendez Brothers. It was. We are winding down and going to finish up next week. But thank you for joining.
Yes, we'll brush up on trial number 2. I think trial number 1 I know like the back of my hand, but trial number 2 I need to.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the clips for trial number 1 that we need. If you see something that you want me to show, let me know.
Okay.
I will show you. I thought about you, Ellen Dragon, when I was making it. And I used some of my whatever yarn. So she's not as pretty as I wanted, but she's really cool. And I'll make another one, except she's humongous. So I may make her smaller. She's right at 5 foot long. It's insane. But, life is crazy. We get a little random. But while y'all are here, make sure y'all leave this video a thumbs up. If you would like to become a member, the membership link is pinned. I have a goal, and when I meet that, hopefully I can meet it for November. I have a book giveaway that I'm doing. A friend of mine, Stephen David Lampley, is an author. He is also a retired police officer. I've had him on my channel. We've talked a cold case, and he's a very dear friend of mine, and I'm going to give one of his books away and for my members. I'm trying. He's supposed to be sending me a book that he wants me to review. I can't remember again. And I'm trying to think. I'm trying to work on some fun content for members only. When Kendall's finally not killing herself with work, we're going to do a fun live where we just play stupid videos and laugh our asses off and have a fun night.
That sounds great.
So, but thank you, JoJo, for hopping up here with me tonight.
Thank you for having me. And if you guys could, I need 4 more subscribers to be able to go live on YouTube. Help!
You need to drop your link. Hold on, let me get it. I know you're up here somewhere.
I would appreciate it so very much. Brandy has been such an amazing mentor and friend to me. I can't wait to be able to get up here live as well. Because God knows I'm having a great time on TikTok, so I can't wait to be able to.
JoJo's channel. There is JoJo's channel. If y'all will hop over and give her a subscribe, would appreciate it. And I am so close to this month's goal, guys.
I'll keep sharing you out, my friend.
So close to this month's goal. I would have already been there, but the last 2 weeks have been crazy. Dave was homesick, and then he left, and so then I was like recouping from him being sick, and I'm overwhelmed and all of that. And then last week was just kind of crazy. I had an AS flare last week, so I just kind of laid around. It was a bad week. It was a bad week.
I know, Kendall. I saw. I love you. Yes, I've had one up for a few months.
She is preparing for when the tickety tockety goes bye-bye.
Yes, in case it does.
Have you put your link in your bio on TikTok?
Yep, sure have.
Okay.
Yep.
Because that's how I got a lot to come over from, is from there too.
Gotcha.
But all righty, guys. Well, y'all have a good night. Have a good week.
Right. Yes, thank you all so much. It was great being here. Brandy, thank you so much for having me. Kendall, I missed having you up here. Hope you're okay and all's well.
Hopefully, one day this week, Kendall will be up to coming live and we can have some fun.
Cool.
Her and I have not talked much at all in the last 2 weeks because she's been trying to kill herself with work.
Oh, don't work too hard, Kendall.
But alrighty, guys, y'all have a good night.
Have a good one.